joining us, and welcome to the PR Students on Campus Summit. You can all let people know that you're attending the summit by using the hashtag NGWIPR Student Summit. It will be placed in the chat box shortly. I hope you all have your pen and your paper because there is going to be a lot of information being given by speakers today, Adaoha Njimaze and Kemi Olawoye. I'll be calling on our founder, Tolulope Olorodero, or Tolu as we like to call her, to give an introduction to the Nigerian women in PR community. Ms. Tolu, over to you, please. Okay, so it seems Mr. Lu is available right now, so I'll give everything. I'll do my best. Okay, so let me repeat again. I'm not sure you quite heard me. So my name is Amara Chukwuchi Moyan, Community Manager for Nigerian Women in PR. Thank you for joining us and welcome to the PR Student on Campus Summit. You can all let people know that you're attending the summit by using the hashtag NGWIPR Student Summit, NGWIPR Student Summit. I'll place the link in the chat box shortly. I assume, and I'm hoping that you all have your pen and your papers with you because you'll be learning a lot of things today from our wonderful speakers, Kemi Olawoye and Adaoha Njimaze. I'll be calling on our founder, Tolulope Olorodero, or Tolu, as we like to call her, to give an introduction to the Nigerian women PR community. Mr. Tolu, over to you, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Tolu Combs. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon at the Nigerian Women in PR Students on Campus Summit. Hi, Kemi. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. Adaoha, thank you so much. I think I've seen your engagement with us on social media over the months. So thank you for accepting this opportunity to have this conversation with students of the University of Ibadan this afternoon. This is the Nigerian Women in PR. We're a community of public relations professionals, public relations enthusiasts, and senior public relations practitioners who have Nigerian descent across the world. We're gradually growing a community of women who are experienced in public relations, who are aspiring to start their career in public relations, and those who are looking to grow in their career in public relations as well. One of the questions that we typically get for the PR Summit is if this is Nigerian women in PR. Are guys allowed to join our event? For our PR Students on Campus Summit, it is open to everybody, male and female. because our intention with the summit is to ensure that we get fresh talents, young people, undergraduates, to become interested in the practice of public relations and eventually to become practitioners in it. For Nigerian women in PR, our aim is simple. Number one, to support women who are practicing public relations. We also want to empower them with the right tools and resources to help them succeed and excel on the job. And we also want to inspire them to go for the best, to stay the course over the years that they're going to practice as middle-level professionals. We want them to remain on the job so that they can become senior professionals and, of course, director-level public relations professional in the course of their career over the years. We formally started the community in April 2009, and since that time till now, we've grown. This is the second edition of the PR Student on Campus Summit. We held the first one in October for the University of Lagos students. The summit will continue across all tertiary institutions in Nigeria as God gives us grace. In 2021, we plan to have this summit in at least 15 tertiary institutions in Nigeria and also reach as many students as possible. We have a series of initiatives and campaigns that we've started aimed at educating the public about the importance of the profession and practice of public relations. One of them is the PR in 30 Seconds video campaign, where we invite aspiring public relations professionals, female aspiring public relations professionals and practicing ones, to send us a 30 seconds video on what PR means to them and the impact that public relations has on the society. We've been running that campaign since March. We publish the videos every Monday. We invite everybody here who is female and who is interested to tell us what they think public relations is and how they suppose that the practice can impact the community. Good morning. Okay. Okay, so that's one. And then we also have, of course, our educational post on all our social media pages. We invite you to join us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, and of course, send us an invitation to join the closed group on LinkedIn as well. In the course of this event, I will eventually tell us a bit more about public relations, what we aim to achieve in the community, and how you can best benefit from events and conversations such as this. Thank you again so much for honoring our call and invitation to join this event this afternoon. It is my pleasure to welcome you. Have a good time now. Okay, Amara.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Tolu. And once again, thank you to everyone here. So, we'll be introducing our first speaker. We have Ms. Adalha Injimanze, and I would like to say a few things about her before we move on. She's a PR manager. She's also a writer. She's a global citizen, and she's an entrepreneur. She is the principal PR consultant for Nova Media and Communications, a fast-rising African public relations firm which offers services in corporate PR, SMEs, lifestyle, and entertainment industry. With over 5 years' experience, she has consulted across various sectors and developed content for top brands in fashion, lifestyle, and politics. Please let's welcome Adalha Injimanze.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Sorry, please give me a second.
Hello,
Can
Adalha.
everybody hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Hello?
Hi, Adalha. We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. It's really a pleasure to be here with all this has been a very overwhelming month for me. Let's just kick it off. So I'm going to be speaking on understanding PR as an undergraduate. And I will definitely start with a story. So most of us here know a bit of I want to believe most of us here know a bit of the history of public relations when it comes to the Nigerian educational system. And we know most universities in Nigeria do not provide, do not have public relations as an undergraduate course. So it was a bit of a challenge for me because I had to move from University of Jos to University of Calabar due to the ethnic crisis. And so what we were limited to in University of Calabar was theater arts. There was no mass communication. So everything was all combined under theater arts. So you have no choice but to, if you have an interest in anything media, it has to just be theater arts. And um, one of the good things about that was we were now allowed in our final year to choose an area of concentration, like to choose a specialty, a specialization, and I specialized in media. But this is where the tricky part came in. I've always been interested in public relations, and it was very difficult to find people who could understand or even on who knew what public relations was. They know that there's almost every organization has a publicity officer, media officers, but they didn't know the full, they didn't have the full grasp of what public relations is. So speaking that English, even to the lecturers, it was always, I was always looked at as this person has come with a lot of English. And it was only one lecturer who I was also lucky to have as my project coordinator who understood what was happening because he was a lot younger than most of the lecturers we had in the school. And so he was very versatile and would read more about the different professional careers that are out there. And so that was one person that would always encourage me or even have me have a conversation with me about what my interests were and in public relations. And he would always push me to, you know what, you have access to the internet, you have to read, you have to find out what opportunities are there. How many public relations firms do we have in Nigeria? How many people are practicing this career in Nigeria? What do they do? How do they represent organizations? So as an undergraduate who is and taking an interest in PR right now, you are a very lucky, you're among the lucky people because now you have the University of Commission that have approved public relations as a course. So and then you have organizations like Nigerian Women in Public Relations who are actually giving you this opportunity because most of us coming up, we didn't really have this when we were interested in PR. So we had to do, basically personally, I did a lot of YouTube. I watched almost all the tutorials I could find on YouTube. I read books. I watched films about public relations. But the first thing I tell people when you say, "Oh, I'm interested in public relations," take your mind away from red carpet events and celebrity. We have sometimes misrepresented the career in a very glamorous way. Yes, I mean to an extent you have the glamorous aspect of the career, but it's not for everybody. I speak to a couple of young people and I speak to them and I hear them say, "Oh, we want to associate, we want to be on the red carpet, we want to be seen with this person, we want to be seen as this person." And I tell people that's not what public relations is. Public relations is a lot more than being on the red carpet or being a celebrity. Definitely, depending on the area of specialization you pick, you might end up having to work with these people or having to do a lot of these events, but that's not what public relations is. So for me, the following terms are very crucial in understanding PR. They are strategic communications, public interest, information, persuasion, relationship building, credibility. These are very, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, Ada, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. I thought I heard somebody saying something. So these are very, very important terms in understanding public relations. If you are able to take your time as a student, this is the best time for you to understand this thing. Take your time to find out what strategic communications, what public interest, information, persuasion, relationship building, credibility. Find out what Take your time to find out what these terms mean. These terms are terms that classify basically what public relations is. In doing this, you will understand a whole lot. And again, they're also in the definition that we mostly use by PRSA. So take your time to understand what each term is. And when you understand what each term is and you apply that, that is public relations. That is one of the best ways to get yourself to understand public relations. Now, we have it depending on what is available to you as an undergraduate. I tell people everybody is moving around with a smartphone. Your smartphone is not just a fashion accessory. You're not out there to say, "Oh, I have an iPhone 12." What are you doing with your iPhone 12? I had to learn and I had to learn PR and basically experience it. I didn't study PR. I watched a lot of YouTube tutorials from PR professionals all over the world. I followed some of the governing bodies like PRSA, that's the governing body for public relations in America. CIPR, the governing body for public relations in the UK. Read books. You know, the best thing about the internet is you can download certain books. There are PDF books available to people. What's your laptop for? Take online classes, free online classes. Because the truth is, if we are going to be as blunt as possible, the great thing is, yes, and these courses have been approved to be taught in the universities, but we also have to do the work ourselves because we have to also be prepared. We don't know what the lecturers are coming to teach. So you also have to be prepared. These things are online. Google these things, read about these things. Public relations, it's a different, today it's the world of public relations is very different with the advancement of technology and the increase in the influence of public relations in organizations. People are being more and more in tune in wanting to have public relations as a top influence in their organization. So when you come and say, "Oh, I want to be a public relations professional," there are certain skills that you need to make sure that you arm yourself with. Number one, reading is very important. Like I said, I had to read a lot of books in order to understand um, more about public relations because I didn't have a lot of people around me who understood or supported my journey into the industry. So I had to make sure that I knocked down the fences that were being built around me. So reading will never be out of style. You can read through your smartphone, you can read through your tablets, your computers, you can buy the books. So again, the thing about reading is it does a lot. It helps your writing, it helps in your communication. So, but personally, there's something about the books that I read. I love to read books that have a lot of case studies. So for me, case studies actually help because it's very easy for, some people tend to understand more when they hear cases that previous cases or campaigns that applied certain strategies. So when it's not just about the text, you telling me this, telling me that, defining this, telling me the skills. No, I also want to read about case studies, and I'm hoping there are people like that who can relate to that. So read books, a lot of books. There's some books that will have some of these case studies. Google some of these cases. One of the things that I do sometimes is I open my laptop and I say the biggest scandal. Can you hear me? I can hear people say they can't hear me.
Can hear you well.
Okay. So one of the things that I do is I also, go on the internet, the biggest scandals, the biggest PR scandals of 2020, the biggest PR scandals of 2019. You have to just keep reading. Read everything. Do not limit yourself. Read everything. Read the news, read about agriculture, read about politics. Just read. Just keep reading and keep going. Another skill which is very important to have um, in public relations, especially now as an undergraduate, is writing. The importance of writing in public relations can never be overemphasized. See, we write for a living. We're writing press releases, campaign plans, strategy. We're writing every single day. So if your writing is not good, you have to work towards it. You have to keep writing. So writing helps. Reading all you can. A strong grasp of grammar and attention to detail will make a huge difference in your writing. So I have this story. So I was working on a project some years ago, and I think I had so many things going on at that moment. I was really overwhelmed, and I was writing press releases, writing emails, and one of the emails I didn't read it properly, and I just sent it because I was working with a deadline, and I sent it. And late at night, when I was reviewing what I had done for the day, and I was going through the emails, and I read the email, and I said, "Hey, God, Ada, what is this?" The embarrassment that I felt, I was already feeling embarrassment. I didn't even know how to call the person and say, "Oh, can you disregard the email?" But I was reading that email, and I kept asking myself, how do I correct this? Do I call this person? Sorry, Oluwatomi says she can't hear me. Okay, so
Yes.
okay, so just give me 5 minutes. Let me take 2 minutes. Sorry, let me take my earpiece off. I think it's not clear if I'm using that. Sorry, just hold on. Can everybody hear me now? Is this a lot better? Can everybody hear me now? Is this
It's
better?
much clearer now. It's clearer now, Ada.
Can you hear me? Is this better? Okay. Sorry about that. So, like I said, the importance of writing is in public relations can never be overemphasized. You need to write every day, practice writing. So one of the ways that I also improved my writing was I started a blog in 2011, and I would write on different things just to improve my writing. And I was also lucky to be surrounded by people way older than myself who write for a living. And so when I'd write, I would send them some of my materials for them to look at and tell me if my use of grammar wasn't good. So I did this before I even got into the industry, but I was already practicing. So this is the best time again as an undergraduate for you to start practicing these skills and improving them. Another skill which is very important in public relations is communication. So interpersonal communication. Communication is very big. You must be able to communicate your thoughts clearly, be an excellent listener. If you cannot listen, it's a problem. You have to be able to listen to your clients, to the people, your audience, to get to what they are trying to say so that you can take that information or that message and translate it in the slightest way. So it is important for you to be able to pick up on the slightest change in a tone or emotion during a conversation. So communication is very important. Additionally, you cannot let your emotions cloud whatever message you want to put out there. You have to be as unbiased as possible, no matter how you feel about that situation. Then you need a creative mind. Creativity is very important in public relations. We see different products or different organizations launch products, launch services, and we are saying, "Oh my God, wow!" Let's give an example. People that have been following the Big Brother Niger phenomenon and everything. We recently watched the Guinness ad, and you look at the Guinness ad and you look at it, Peter Quinn, he went down to telling a story of his roots. They did the work. So there's a message out there, there's a very clear message out there that has been put out. So and having a creative mind is very important because that helps you get your message out to the people that you need to get it to. So these are some of the skills you need to practice public relations. So in practicing public relations, having these skills might not just be enough. So what next? One of the things that I was very happy and I was very privileged to do was, again, like I said, I didn't have the experience. I had to do the work. And so what I did was I would take advantage of every holiday, every industrial strike by asking. to find jobs. So I'd apply for internships, I would apply for part-time jobs, and to find out and I would take my time to do a research to find out the agencies that are willing to have me, what kind of work they do, or events that. So you have to do the work. You don't just sit and say, oh, we're on strike, let me just sit down and wait for us. No, take advantage of that time. Uh, Apply for internships. There are a lot of organizations right now who are very open to having interns. So apply for internships. It is very, very, you have to be determined to learn from the experienced professionals and some of the best. So if we also live in a digital world right now, so it's very easy to send that email, send that message. So you don't just say, oh, this person did not respond. If A doesn't respond, B would respond. But you have to reach out in a very respectful manner to them and ask this question. Take your time in your different locations, find out the key figures in the industry, find out the top firms around you, apply in person, virtually, just do the work, start the research, speak to people, take advantage of whatever situation you are currently in as an undergraduate and get certain experience so that by the time you go back to school, it's a lot easier for you. And then you also use this time to also start building your portfolio as well. Volunteer and attend events near close to you. If you have, there are so many groups. You have the Nigerian Women in PR. Join this. Find out how you can belong to this group. Join writing clubs. Just join things and groups that would improve your skills. You know the skills you need to have. So find out the groups that are under those skills and join them. So many things that you can do to get yourself keep improving yourself. I saw what I do even now. I have certain people who practice public relations that I look up to. It is never ever too late to have a career idol or a mentor. So look for that person. You don't even have to send the person a message, but you can follow the person. We're in a social media or in a digital world. Almost everybody's on social media. Follow them on social media. I have certain people I follow on social media. I won't say I stalk, but I follow them because I respect the work that they do and I respect their professionalism. So find these people, follow them. If possible, you can reach out to them for some sort of mentorship. There are so many successful PR and communication professionals out there doing fantastic work in Nigeria. I mean, Tolu Combs is here. I don't even need to talk too much. Kenny is there. You have Buki Rice, you have Bidemi, you have there are so many professionals doing fantastic work out there. So reach out to them, speak to them. A 30-minute conversation can do a lot for you. 30 minutes conversation can do a lot for you. So as an undergraduate in today's education system, know that the world is at your feet with a lot of opportunities to explore. You have less limitations. And I think I have sent this presentation slide to Amar people, I think. So there are recommended readings by top PR professionals that I think they are worth reading to understand more. Some of them would basically sum up public relations for you in just 300 pages or 500 pages that are what that I think that, and then I put in some recommended readings here by both Nigerians and international professionals that as an undergraduate you should get these books. If you are interested in having a career, some of these books are very important because they give you a wider range of knowledge about what the profession is. Again, I'm very, very visual. So for me, reading is not enough. I like to watch TV shows. I like to listen to podcasts about public relations because sometimes, even as a professional, there are certain campaigns that you might get stuck in, and you need help. So even some of us that are practicing that have over 5-6 years experience, we still get to the point where we are saying, "Oh, we need this help or we need this." So we still read. We're still reading till tomorrow. We're writing till tomorrow. We're still watching films tomorrow. We're following TV shows that are depicting some of this, depicting what our profession is. And then sometimes we'll come back and we're criticizing, no, this is not how the profession is. But this would help you. So this would help you, this would help all these
Hi,
things
Ada.
because
I'm so sorry.
you a
I'm sharing your
practical
slides.
approach to public relations. So I can see the slides. So it's pretty short, but it's just give you a better knowledge of what you need, what I have basically said in this last couple of minutes. So there are movies, there are films that I've recommended as well, and then there are some TV shows that um, that you can also follow. But you see, never be afraid to ask the question. Um, I see some of the tweets sometimes that Tolu comes to put out, and I'm saying, I didn't know this one. Maybe I need to go and read more about this. And so you have to be, or you have to in public relations. You always have to be willing to learn. You learn every day. You have to be willing to learn. But the first thing is understand the basics of public relations as an undergraduate. That will take you a long way in having a successful and bright career in public relations. So I think that's it for now. Thank you so much. Do you have any questions? Or is it time for questions or do I have to wait? So after
Hello, Adoha. So right now we're not taking questions until after the second speaker is done, so we can take everything at once. So thank you very much for your wonderful speech. I myself learned a whole lot from it, and I've seen some of the recommended texts. Some I've read, some I haven't. So I'm going to look for the ones that I haven't and go through them myself. So thank you very much, and really appreciate it. So now we'll be handing over. Again, I'll be calling on our founder. I'm going to continue my statement because she would like to say that she's just, she just said stuff. She's just the errand girl and all of those things. But she's the founder of Nigerian Women in PR. So I'd like to invite her again to introduce something very spectacular to everyone here, um, everyone in this room right now. So, Mr.
Okay, hi, I'm back again. Okay, Ada, thank you so much. I found your presentation quite interesting. For example, I never thought of starting a blog while I was an undergraduate. I think that that's a fantastic opportunity. That's a fantastic platform that people can explore to get better in their writing. Um, I should mention that an alternative to starting an outright blog is really just to become very consistent in using your social media pages. I mean, if you have to post on LinkedIn, say every day, for example, that's you writing. And I want to expect that you are professional enough to know that you can't afford to put out errors. And the way these things work is the more you write, the better you get at it, right? And that's something that I take away from this session. So thank you very much, Ada. We apologize that you were not able to share your screen. I wasn't aware early enough. However, all participants will get the presentation slide on the group that was created, so we will get it. In the meantime, just before I introduce this very dear initiative to my heart that I want to introduce to our participants this afternoon, we have a feedback form for each speaker. Amara, our community manager, is going to share it in the chat box now. So as you listen to me, please fill it just to give us feedback. Just to give us feedback on the session that you've just listened to. Getting feedback is one of the most important criteria in public relations, and that's why we want to ensure that each summit that we hold, we ensure that we explore all the tenets of public relations and communications. Communication is not complete if you don't get feedback. Otherwise, you have just passed information, okay? So we want you to communicate with us, give us feedback on Adaoha's presentation. Amara will please share the link to the feedback survey for Adaoha in the chat box while I introduce to you flagship Nigerian Women in PR Student Ambassadorship Program. I'm very excited about it, and I want to pass on that excitement to all of you listening this afternoon. The Student Ambassadorship Program of the Nigerian Women in PR community is a program that we have designed to identify the top 5 most passionate undergraduate female students in all tertiary institutions that we take the PR Summit to. Our student ambassadors are representatives of the Nigerian Women in PR community on their various campuses, and they will get practical public relations experience as they come up with initiatives, programs, and events to help drive the objective of the community in their respective institutions. And our objectives are really quite simple, two-pronged. Number one, we want to consciously educate the public across all sectors and across all strata of the society about the importance of public relations. And here is how I see it. If the public is fully aware, understanding, and appreciative of the value of your profession as a public relations professional, you are better able to command the value that you deserve as a professional. I'll use a practical example. Doctors, for example, I mean, you don't have to speak too much before due respect is accorded to a doctor. Now, even when the doctor is speaking not about medical things, but just speaking about life generally, people tend to just pay attention to them and sort of give them they have this perception of respect, because I mean, if you've being a medical doctor, you've gone through the works, you've gone to school for many years, you're saving the lives of people, we should definitely respect you, right? That's the perception that doctors have. And it's not just because there was a doctor somewhere who just stayed within his lab or in the surgery room and continued to work. Doctors have a way that they carry themselves. Doctors have a way that they speak. Doctors even have a way that they write. It seems like all of them stay together in one room and said, let's make sure that writings are not legible so that nobody can read what we've written, apart from pharmacists. Anyway, so there's that about doctors. The same thing applies to a large extent to lawyers as well. I mean, for many people like me who studied English language, many of us wanted to get into study law, right? And it was because obviously we had some of the skills that we thought is required for you to be a successful legal practitioner. But much more than that was this joy that came from your parents saying that, oh, my daughter is a lawyer, you know? Today, you will find it very difficult when you start practicing public relations to fully express and explain what you do in real terms to your friends and your family. I mean, I've been practicing for some 15 years now. Until today, my mother still finds it difficult to fully understand what I do as a public relations person. And it's not for want of trying in terms of explaining. But I mean, if I'm the only person who is trying to explain to her that this is what public relations is and this is what we do, it doesn't really go well that much compared to if there were like 1,000 of us or 100,000 of us or 1 million of us talking to people across board about what public relations is and what our value is in the society. And so because of that, we've taken, oh my Jesus, your mother is here. Okay, well, so that's a common challenge that we have as practitioners. And our decision in Nigerian Women in PR, our contribution to that conversation and our contribution to ensuring that the public is fully educated. And when they're educated, they become appreciative of the work that we do, is that we now want to carry on this public education campaign to our universities, to our tertiary institutions, including polytechnics, colleges of education, institutes of journalism, for example. Sorry, give me a moment. Jesus. I'm so sorry. I was muted. That's why. I hope you can hear me now. So I was saying that because we work from home, I have to pay attention to my executive directors, my kids, while I try to work as well. So I was saying the Nigerian Women in PR Student Ambassadorship Program is an opportunity. One of the objectives for that program is for us to get foot soldiers, passionate female undergraduates in universities to help us carry on this assignment, this objective of educating the public. In this instance, the public will be their respective institutions, right? So on the one hand, we want to educate the public. On the other hand, also, we want the general public also to know that there is a community called Nigerian Women in Public Relations. And it's not a self-serving objective. If the community is known, number one, we'll get more valuable members, and membership of the community is free, by the way. There's no payment. You honestly just need to follow our social media pages and join our LinkedIn groups, and of course, participate in events that we have. That's all there is to it, because it's free, and this is a work of passion for us. So we want to use the Student Ambassadorship Program to identify 5 very brilliant and passionate public relations enthusiasts who are willing to start getting practical experience in their universities as they carry on with us to help educate the public about the importance of public relations and the impact it can have on businesses and on society. Okay, the ambassadorship program is keenly contested, and the successful 5 ladies will be chosen solely on merit and on your application and the things that you tell us that you're interested in doing. So if you would like to apply, you'll please send us an email. Amara, please put our email in the chat box. Please send us an email with your CV and why you want to be a student ambassador in the University of Ibadan on behalf of Nigerian Women in Public Relations. Please send us an email at ngwomeninpr@gmail.com. The Student Ambassadorship Program is a 1-year program that is fully immersive. And of course, there are opportunities there that you will get for another. We'll have a pre-selection exercise again amongst the 5 people where they get opportunities for internship in partner organizations that have indicated interest in working, in getting interns in their organizations from Nigerian Women in PR. Of course, you also have access to meet people. You have access to membership. You have direct access to me as well. My name is Tolu Combs. And I dare say that if you needed to get information about public relations practice in Nigeria and you were looking for that information online, you will likely find my name maybe among the top 3 people always ranting about public relations, right? So you have access to mentors, you have access to community members who are there to guide you in your practice and as you begin your journey into public relations. We want to infuse in 5 young ladies at least the passion that we have for public relations, and we hope that you'll join us along the journey. I see a question asked if the program is for ladies only. Yes. While the Public Relations Student on Campus Summit is open to both male and female, our Student Ambassadorship Program is strictly for 5 ladies only, right? However, the programs and events that they will come up with in their respective institutions will be open to everybody, okay? It's just that we want ladies to work alongside us. When we get to the Q&A session, I will explain why we have decided to have this community for women alone, and why 80% of ladies start out in public relations. They are the ones who do the most backbreaking work as entry-level public relations professionals. But when you get to senior management, when you become directors, when they're supposed to become managers and CEOs of organizations, you now have that number flipped, where only 26% of women get to senior management level. That means that our gentlemen here are more likely to become directors, executive directors. They are what? 26 minus 100 is what? I'm not very good in mathematics. So that's what? 74. So that means that our gentlemen here have a 74% chance of becoming a CEO an executive director in charge of public relations and communications, they have a 74% chance of becoming those things much more than our female here, right? And we're trying to balance the equation as we go along, because we think that everybody has something to offer in the society and in the practice of public relations. If you have more questions about the program, please drop it in the chat box. When we get to the Q&A session, I'll be able to answer. Thank you so much. Amara, over to you now. Okay, while we wait on Amara to speak, I'm just going to introduce, give me a moment while I call up Kemi's profile. My apologies. I'm going to introduce our second speaker. She's a personal friend, and she is somebody that I respect a lot. By the way, she's also an MC, a very respectable one at that, and quite engaging in the conversations that I've seen her lead. I think I met Kemi some 2 years ago thereabout at an event she was moderating, and it was quite interesting for me to see that, so yeah, this is interesting, and I sort of just had her in mind for such conversations going forward. It is my pleasure, thank you, Mama. It is my pleasure this afternoon to introduce and welcome upstage Kemi Olawoye. Kemi Olawoye is an award-winning entrepreneur, and she's the Chief Communications Officer of Bora, a fast-growing public relations company based in Lagos, Nigeria. As a communications expert, Kemi has helped over 100 international and local organizations across diverse sectors plan, launch, and execute successful media campaigns that have impacted millions of individuals in sub-Saharan Africa. Her in-depth knowledge and insights on media relations, external and internal communications for corporate and non-governmental organizations has over the years positioned her as a thought leader and industry expert. With nearly a decade of experience in television and radio broadcasting, Kemi continues to leverage traditional and digital media to address critical issues that affect individuals and businesses. She currently produces and hosts 2 shows on Silverbird Television. I think that deserves a round of applause. She currently produces and hosts 2 shows on Silverbird Television and Rhythm 93.7 FM. She is also the co-founder of Baby Migo, Nigeria's largest online community for expecting, nursing, and experienced mothers. Kemi is a recipient of several awards and recognition, including the 2020 AXA Femtech Accelerator Program, 2018 WIMBY's Impact Investment Competition, and 2019 Nigeria's 100 Most Inspiring Woman. Wow, that is a phenomenal profile. Kemi, please welcome on stage, come up stage as you speak to our participants this afternoon about their conversations in public relations.
Thank you very much, Tolu and the entire Nigerian Women in PR team for having me at today's event. It's such a pleasure and a delight to be here. Welcome to everyone, and thank you for taking out time to be a part of this discussion. Very, very interesting discussion, and I've learned so much myself, writing a couple of things from today's event already. My name is Kemi Olawoye, and I'm the Chief Communications Officer and founder of Bura, a public relations agency based in Lagos, Nigeria. Today, I will be speaking on working as a PR professional, path to success. I don't know if the slides will come up anytime soon, but I'll just move forward with my presentation. Just a few things I'm going to touch on today. I'll definitely I'll definitely state what public relations is, PR disciplines, traits of a good PR professional, and common PR myth. I'm hoping that at the end of today's presentation, you would know what PR is and its disciplines. You will be familiar with the traits of a good PR professional, and you will be conversant with career paths available in PR. But before I delve into what public relations is and the different disciplines, I'll first like to share my story and how I started. Okay, thank you. I think I'm on slide 4 now. Okay, so before I delve into what PR is and the different disciplines, I would like to share my story and how I started working as a PR professional. I would say that my journey as a PR professional definitely dates back to my time in media. First, I finished as a physiotherapist from the University of Lagos years back. And before I finished from the University of Lagos, I was in 300 level then, and we had this break. And so I decided not to sit at home, and I decided to volunteer with a media house. I knew that I had an interest in media. So I approached someone that I know I knew back then in Nigeria, very popular TV station, just like Sound City, but it was very popular back then. And coincidentally, it wasn't far from my house. So I volunteered there and ended up working there for about 2 years before I moved on to the radio station of my university, Unilag FM, where I worked for about 2.5 years. I worked with these media houses from 300 level till I finished school. I worked in the hospital for a while, and then I started working in a digital health company, following which I moved to Silverbird. And so at some point, so I would usually post on my social media about, my shows. I would also post about different outreaches because I was very involved in a lot of outreaches, a lot of PR projects, which I wasn't even aware that what I was doing at the time with all of those projects were PR projects. And so a friend from my uni, of course, we're all graduated, and then we were going to the same church, approached me and said, okay, I see you post a lot around, media and things like this on your social media. And the clinic I currently work for in Lekki Phase 1, they have like, they are really looking to put themselves out there. They're looking to work on their brand perception. And then he said all these things. I really didn't think I could, get the job done. But he arranged a meeting for me with the founder of the company. And the next day I was off there I went for a meeting, and by the end of the meeting, I had sealed a deal with the organization and we had negotiated and I was good to go. So I started working with them, and then over time, I got a lot of referrals to other health organizations. Don't forget that I said I finished as a physiotherapist. So I knew quite a number of people already in the healthcare sector. So I got a lot of referrals to hospitals, and I was just doing it. And it was just like what I would call a side hustle then, because I was still working in a digital health company. And what I was actually also doing in the digital health company was more of content with Airtel. I was managing our businesses with Airtel, MTN, and Nine Mobile. To cut the long story short, at some point when I had, so many clients and I felt like I could be by myself, I decided to resign from my work, and I just started, pushing. And then I decided to hire the first member of my team. And as I started to build my business, I started to realize that this thing I'm doing is actually PR. And I began to research. I took a lot of courses, several courses. I started reading and investing in a lot of materials. That's how I realized that, all of this while all I had done for these different organizations in helping them manage their reputation of their clinic, hospitals, and things like that was really public relations. I was also managing their social media then at the time, but we don't do that now. So I then realized, oh my gosh, I've actually been doing PR. Thankfully, I think it was around the same time. I think it was around when I resigned that I met Tolu Combs, where we met at the event that she mentioned earlier. And she added me to all of these PR groups. And, I just basically was very determined to learn a lot about PR. And we've done that over the years, and I'm very excited. It's been a very exciting journey for me. I absolutely love what I do. I absolutely love what we do in terms of helping clients, planning campaigns. It can be hectic, but it's been very, very interesting. With that being said, I like to say what public relations is. So according to the Public Relations Society of America, the definition of public relations says that it's a strategic communication process that builds mutually beneficial relationships between organizations and the public. But my favorite definition of public relations is this particular one that says that PR is the art of managing an organization's perception by its target audience. And why I really, really love that definition is that one, of course, is very simple. But it really captures the essence of PR, how that you have a target audience, and your target audience is not always your customers. Of course, you have your customers as part of your target audience, but really the different groups of people that you're engaging with as a business or as an organization, your customers and your clients, your investors, your board members, definitely your team members, internal stakeholder management, and things like that, and how you're able to manage how they perceive, how they think about the organization. The final definition there says that PR is about reputation, and it's a result of what you do, what you say, and what other people say about you. I absolutely love it. Now, I will move to the different disciplines of PR. So you find people say, this one, media relations, influencer marketing, crisis, reputation. You're thinking, what are all these? Are they all the same things? Is it the same thing as PR? So I like to call them the different disciplines in PR. And so we have media relations, we have internal and external stakeholder relations, we have crisis communications, influencer marketing, reputation management, community relations, public affairs. So there are different disciplines in PR. And I think that when I talk somewhere down there about common myths in PR, I'll definitely say how that, people often mix PR with a number of other things. Definitely they confuse PR with media relations. And then there's also a lot about saying, some clients will come and say, I want publicity. They always think that everything about PR is publicity. I just want publicity to be known. Let me very quickly, okay, I was going to touch on a few the different disciplines, but let me go to the characteristics of a good PR professional. Now, the first trait I would say that a PR professional, anyone who is serious about building a career in PR, should be thinking about is you really need to be very strategic. So when you see a lot of campaigns going on, say on Twitter, I'm not even talking about organic. I'm not talking about organic campaigns. I mean, most of the campaigns that you see, most of the things, ads that you see, most of the events you see, I mean, someone somewhere or people somewhere came together and strategically planned that event. Everything was thought through from the beginning to the end. They decided that, okay, let us do this first, and then this next, and then this next, and then this next. And so if you want to be a good PR professional, you really have to be strategic. You can't stand up one morning and say, we want to, I want this organization to go A, and then the next day they're going this other way B, and then the one after they're going this other way C. So you really have to be strategic. Think through every process. Or if we're launching a campaign, we have to be able to piece every part of the campaign together. Okay, let's do this first, or let's go this route because it's going to complement this in this way. So you really, really have to be strategic. The second thing is for you to be knowledgeable. And why it's very important for you to be knowledgeable is that don't forget that you're managing the perception of your target audience, and you have to be knowledgeable about, okay, what is currently going on in the society? How will it affect? How can our organization come in? A very typical example for me would definitely be the EndSARS protest. And when the EndSARS protest happened, I mean, I used to have someone on my team who would say, oh, I don't know. I remember when COVID happened, she would be like, what will COVID do for, what is our business with COVID? So COVID has infected people. I always tell her that you cannot work with me if you have this kind of attitude, because you need to be knowledgeable about what is going on, especially if you are working either in the PR department of an organization or you're working with an agency, because at the end of the day, all of these things going on influences how you position your client or the organization. Another thing is that you have to be detail oriented, and I cannot overemphasize the importance of this. As the first speaker said said earlier, you're going to be writing a lot of press releases. You're going to be writing a lot of materials. You're going to be sending out a zillion emails. You are going to be writing concept notes, briefs. You have to be detail oriented, because every time, and when I tell my team, I always say that if you don't think about things in details, or you're not detail oriented when you write a document or something, what that means is that imagine that we send out a press release to 10 media houses, and then you wrote a paragraph. Maybe you copied and pasted something from the internet or all that kind of stuff, and you just forgot to remove it. And imagine that that thing is going to be on the internet literally for life. So I always say that you have to be detail oriented. It's really not there's no other way to say. You have to be detail oriented. Another thing is that you have to have great communication skills. When you're working in PR, at every point in time, you are going to have to communicate with different groups of people. You have to communicate with your target audience. I'm going to say your customers and your clients. You need to communicate with them. You're going to have to communicate with other different stakeholders. If you're running an agency or you're part of an agency, you're going to have to speak with your clients, communicate with your clients. So I mean, it's non-negotiable. And I always say that the thing with communication is that it's not always verbal communication or written communication. It's really how, and if you remember the first definition from the previous slide, it's really what you say, is what you do. It's not just always about what you write or what you're saying. It's also about how you position yourself, your stance as an organization, how you react to issues. Even when I'm speaking with a client and they act in a particular way, I can tell from their body language. So it's really beyond what you how verbal and written communication. It's also about how you carry yourself. Like when you, for example, your client needs to speak at an event, how they need to speak well, they need to present themselves well. So you really have to have good communication skills as a PR professional. Absolutely, you should have good writing skills. And the first speaker, spoke very extensively on that. I won't really touch on that. Now, problem-solving skills as a PR professional. Because of the nature of the work and everything, you find that there are different, okay, so I'm going to say, for example, you have a campaign plan, a campaign you're trying to launch for a client. There are different moving parts for the campaign. So many moving parts at the same time. And sometimes, no matter how detail-oriented you are, I mean, some problems just spring up from nowhere. You probably have an event and then one speaker just doesn't show up. Or, I don't know, maybe someone doesn't send their slides. I mean, just anything could really happen. And so as a PR professional, you must always be thinking on your feet and, okay, how can I quickly problem solve this thing right now? I mean, a very funny one that happened. Okay, well, it wasn't funny at the time. It was really very somehow. It was, we had scheduled a client for a TV show, TVC of You, and I had sent the name, the profile, and everything about the client to the producer. And she had also done the same thing and given the engineer. So you know that when you're on TV, they put like this thing over over the person that has the person's name and the person's designation. And I'm not sure where the issue came, but I know, because I had to go and double check. I know that it was definitely not from our end. But I know the person put a completely different name. So let's say the person is called Kemiolawoye, and then they put something Adekunle Adeyemi something, and it was just, I didn't even know what to do at that time. But of course, because we had encountered issues like that over and over, well, not necessarily that particular issue, but we had learned the art of solving problems. We had to quickly problem solve and decide on what to really do. And then finally, you have to be a lifelong learner. We are in the digital age, and just recently I was listening to an American PR professional. She's very popular in the US, and she has over 15 years experience. I mean, just like Tolu, she has over 15 years experience. And she was sharing that when she started working in PR, I mean, PR was just newspaper publication, TV and radio, just basic things. Once you get your clients on in the newspaper, you finished. But now there's just so many different disciplines, so many key areas of PR. You can even have a campaign plan and you're not even talking about newspaper publications or media relations or things like that. And so the world is constantly really evolving, and you really have to be a lifelong learner. With everything that has happened this year with COVID, I mean, we've seen the importance of organizations being socially responsible. So if you're a PR professional, you need to start thinking that how will this influence the campaign plan, the PR plan rather, of the organization I'm working with or our clients in the next year, because we've seen that people are becoming more in terms of people are becoming more conscious in terms of social issues. How will it influence influence my clients. So many other things happened this year with regards to PR that has changed the game a bit for PR. So you have to be a lifelong learner. Next slide. Okay, so my next slide, haven't had to work with several interns and of course work with people, early stage PR professional aspiring. We actually have one of our interns, Tokbe, on this call as well. And coincidentally, she's a student of University of Ibadan. And so having worked with these people over time, a few things that I noticed, and I think that any aspiring PR professional should really take cognizance of is one, don't compromise on excellence. Because of how, let me use the word for lack of a better word, because of how hectic PR can be sometimes, it's very easy for you to say, I'm tired, let me just send it out, let's just do it like that. But I always say, don't compromise on excellence, because when you compromise on excellence, like it literally has a ripple effect. So as much as possible, do not compromise on excellence. The second one is for you to be open to criticism. Now, with everybody being woke, everybody knows everything. Like everyone is pretending to know everything. And that's, I mean, it can be good, it can be bad. But then what happens is that when you're criticized or you're told that, oh, either in a constructive way or not a constructive way, when you're told that, oh, what you're doing, I mean, it can be better or something, people are not as open to criticism. And in PR, you have to be open to criticism. And it may not even just be from your audience. It may even be from a client. It may be from your boss, who is saying, oh, I think we should do things this way. And you feel like, I know it should be this way. Yes, you are the professional. Yes, you should educate your client or your organization about what to do, but you really have to be open to criticism. The third one is that you have to be very flexible. Sometimes when you have a plan, see what happened with COVID. I'm sure every PR professional had a PR plan for the organizations that they work with at the beginning of the year. And then COVID happened and everyone had to think, what is the next step for us? So you have to be very flexible. And then finally, you have to be eager to learn. Next, I have common PR myth. So the first one says that public relations is all glamour. And our first speaker really touched on that. So when people think of PR, they're thinking, you're always on the red carpet. You're always going to parties. You're always going to take pictures with celebrities and influencers. That is absolutely wrong. It also depends on the sector that you're in. Yes, you may be working with influencers, but there's a lot of work that goes into that. The second myth says that public relations focuses on media placement only. Like I said earlier, media relations is a discipline. It's a subset of public relations. It is not public relations. It's not like, that's not what public relations is all about. I already mentioned that earlier. And then the last myth that people say is that PR is the same as publicity. So many times you see clients come and say, please promote me, publicize me. There are several PR strategies and tactics that you may need to use for your client that may not necessarily announce them to the public. So take, for example, when you're working with a client and you realize that there's something in terms of internal communications, the way they are communicating with their, with the way the team members are not aware of things that are happening, you may need to organize a town hall meeting. I'm going to use a particular example. I remember during the COVID period when Access Bank had the issue and then they called like a town hall meeting. Well, that leaked, but that shouldn't have leaked in the first place. And then they had a town hall meeting with their team members. Sometimes it's just really as simple as that. Sometimes it's as simple as planning a closed meeting with investors or with board members. So it's not always just everything loud, everything out there, bubbling, hot. No. It's not always about that. I would like to end today's session by really sharing very quickly what a day in the life of a PR professional is like. So I'm going to share my own personal experience. Okay, but before I say that, let me say that as a PR professional, because I wanted to touch on career paths. As a PR professional, you can work in different sectors. There's really almost no sector that does not need PR, whether it's healthcare, whether it's government, public affairs, whether it's entertainment, whether it's fashion, agriculture. There's really no sector that wouldn't need PR. NGOs. You can also decide as a PR professional to work with an agency, or you can decide to work in the PR unit of an organization, or you can decide to freelance, or you can decide to work maybe as a content strategist, and those different other key areas of PR that you can decide to do. So there are several opportunities for you as a PR professional if you decide to go to become a PR professional. Several opportunities for you. And I mean, with lots of awareness, like Tolu Combs said, with lots of awareness about PR, it's also interesting to see that organizations are actually seeing the need. And I was just telling someone on my team that we must be able to show a client that, okay, when you were not doing PR 2 years ago, like this is where you were, like see the impact in terms of maybe brand awareness, perception, and things like that in the next 2 years. So, I mean, it's really an exciting future for PR in the next few years. I'm going to end, like I said, by sharing a day in the life of a PR professional, my own day. So ideally, I'm up in the morning. I like to be at my desk at 9 a.m. Usually I'll check in with my team. I know what is happening, and then finally I check in with clients. I mean, if anyone runs an agency or you work with clients, you know that as much as possible, you want to communicate. You don't want to just keep quiet. So I communicate, touch base, or provide updates and the rest. And the next thing, usually I edit material, or I go through materials, press releases, concept notes, this, that, lots and lots of materials. And then usually I do a review session. Temetimes it's a personal review where I just look at our current campaigns and say, oh, do we need to tweak something here, or we don't need to tweak something here? Or it could be a review session, a brainstorming session with the team as well. And finally, because I run an agency, I also have to review proposals, maybe follow up if need be on proposals that have been sent previously. Now, on days like this, I speak at events. On other days, of course, I do media and a few other things. On some days, it's a media interview. And to be very honest with you, some days are very, very disruptive. And what that means is that, you have your day planned out and something happens with a client. I'll give an example of this. When COVID happened, one of our clients were one of the first 6 laboratories to be approved for COVID testing. And the government has a particular fee. And anyway, there was just some thing that happened, and in particular media house made a publication that put them in the wrong light. And in fact, I think it was even on a Sunday, funny thing. And on a Sunday, I like to just chill, reflect, and just do my thing. And the clients called me, and my day was literally disrupted. So you have those days as a PR professional. So I just wanted to put out that disclaimer. And then on some days, as they always say, I relax, I put up my feet, I read a book, and in the popular saying, they say, try to enjoy life. Problem, no, they finish. So on that note, I'd like to ask if there are any questions, or if the team would like me not to take any questions at this time. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation. It's great being here, as I've said earlier.
Thank you so much, Kemi. That was a fantastic session. Okay, thank you so much, Kemi. That was a fantastic session. And I loved how you broke it down, especially in explaining what a day in your work life looks like. I think that's very important. Sometimes people have the wrong impression that we are just there posting on social media, and you're sort of waiting for things to happen to you before you are reacting. But I can guarantee, and my team members are here also, they can assure you that you have to consciously stop working. Otherwise, you are just going to keep working and working. The documents will pile up, and just thinking about the documents you have to review and edit can almost give you a heart attack. So it's not the work that we do, but people don't know the enormity of the work that we do. Right? That's why it's important for us to have these conversations, and then of course ensure that people who are going to enter into the profession are aware, and they can of course plan ahead for it properly. So people who are sorry, I'm just going to leave here now. I joined on another device. Okay, so if you have questions for our speakers, Adaoha and Kemi, please share in the chat box and we will pick it. Amara, please highlight the document with the questions. So we had shared a pre-event survey document for people to tell us the questions they would like us to answer during the summit. Amara, please highlight that document for me so I can call up the document. And then if there are specific questions that our participants have for Kemi and Adaoha, they will please share it in the comments, in the chat box. Right, so somebody's asking what's the difference between marketing communications and public relations? Okay, so I'm going to allow our speakers to take between 3 and 4 questions between themselves. That's perhaps 2 questions each before I then take the questions that have been asked before the summit, right? So somebody has asked now, what's the difference between marketing communications and public relations?
For me like this, I sleep.
Okay, so Sheita was telling us that she sleeps very well, which we are thankful for. Not everybody has the pleasure of sleeping well. Okay, so Adelha, you want to speak to this, or Kemi? Would you like to attempt this? The difference between marketing communications and public relations. Any takers? No? Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead. Amara, I'm waiting for the link to the questions. So for marketing communications, really, yeah, so there's something wrong with my network. For marketing communications, I think not that I think, I know, the primary difference, right, is in the objective for the communication you are writing. Okay, already you have marketing communication as, you have marketing before communication. So that tells you that in the material that you are creating, it has a marketing element. You're either trying to get somebody to buy something from your organization, to buy your product or service, and that's why you're doing marketing communication. For public relations, the essence is really to help people to have a better perception about your organization, for them to be favorably disposed to the activities and projects or programs of your organization, not necessarily about a product or a service. It's about the organization's brand. So the fundamental difference is a focus and objective when you're doing public relations and when you're doing marketing communications. Kemi, you want to take a try?
Sorry, I thought I was I think I was muted before. I think you aptly said it is just really about the materials, the communication materials that you put out there with the purpose of getting people phrased in a way of getting people to buy in something, whereas public relations can hear me.
Okay, so there seems to be something very wrong with the network generally. Kemi, can you hear me? Yeah, the network seems to be very bad. We have at least about 100 people who registered for the event, and the feedback so far has been that it's just been very difficult to get people into the group. Okay, Kemi, you're back now. Did you finish before you went off? We didn't hear you for a while. Hi, Kemi. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? No, okay, so let's stop video as well. So Kemi, can you hear me now? You're muted. If you can hear me, please unmute. Or Ada or her, I don't know if you can hear me as well. So Amara is also off. Okay, Ada, you can hear me. Do you want to take a try to the question that was asked about PR and marketing communications? What the difference is?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Fantastic.
Okay, great. Sorry, my network has been terrible here.
Yes, I can imagine.
Okay, so marketing communications, like you and Kemi rightly said, it's basically conveys the message about the products and the brands they sell. Am I very clear? Because I seem to.
Yes, very, very clear.
I'm echoing.
I can hear you very clearly.
Okay. So, like you and Kemi rightly said, marketing communication is is normally used for to convey the messages about the products, the brands they sell, either directly or indirectly to the customer, just to persuade them to purchase. Unlike public relations, that is more strategic and is very concerned about the tone of the language, the building relationships, you know, with people. So there's always
Oh, wow. Adao has also dropped off. So the thankful thing about this is the session is being recorded and we are going to upload it. Yes, now we can hear you.
I'm so sorry. Like my network seems to be, I don't know whether it's my network or something.
I suppose it is. Okay, found it now.
Yeah. So public relations is focused in maximizing credibility, opinions, attitudes, stakeholder relationships. So that's the difference between marketing communications and public relations. So I think you and yourself and Kemi were very, very correct in the best way in what marketing communications and public relation is.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm just going to continue from here, hoping that everyone can hear me. Just hang on for me a moment. Okay, so we'll just move very quickly to the Q&A session because of time, and just to ensure, thankfully the session is being recorded. We will upload the video on YouTube, and everybody who was not able to join in will be able to watch, and then they can put their comments or just ask us questions. Send us your questions on our social media pages, tweet at us, send us a DM, and we will respond to you directly. So in the pre-event survey that we shared, we had many questions. I mean, by the time we collated everything and sorted out the similar ones, at the end of the day, we have about 55 questions. First of all, that tells me that everyone who registered for this event is very interested in public relations. If you can hear me, please put So if you can hear me, please put an emoji in the chat box, just so that I know I'm not speaking to the air. Thank you. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. I see Tokpa is here. Sheito, how are you doing? Finally. Okay, thank you. So at least a few people can hear me. So by the questions that we received, I see that people are obviously interested and at least asking questions about public relations, which is fantastic for us as a community. And it tells us that this summit that we are hosting, that we have periodically, is much needed and appreciated as we go on across institutions in Nigeria. So I'm just going to summarize the ones that I see that look a bit similar, and then we'll try to wrap up from there. So the question is, some of the initial questions about becoming a public relations officer. How does one become a PR, public relations officer? How do you get into an entry-level position? What are the possible career options in public relations? How do you build a career there? How do you become a public relations professional? So first of all, there is a professional body. Remember that Nigerian Women in PR is a community. It is an association, a voluntary association where you don't need any professional degree to come in. So long as you are interested in public relations as a profession, or you are practicing public relations, then you can join the Nigerian Women in PR community. But there is a professional body of public relations professionals in Nigeria. Just like accountants have ICANN, just like lawyers have the NBA, just like doctors have the MCDM, right? Public relations professionals practicing in Nigeria have the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. And if you want to become certified as a public relations professional in Nigeria, you should seek to write the certificate level exams and diploma level exams. You can find more information about NIPR on their website. Tommy or Amara, please put the website URL of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations there. It should be NIPR, either dash, I can't recall it clearly now, .org, or just quickly check on Google and put it there. But beyond that, now, being certified is a good to have. Oh, Tommy is off. Being certified as a PR professional in Nigeria is a good thing to have, right? It just ensures that you've dotted all your I's and crossed all your T's. However, as you may have noticed if you've been doing some research about public relations, a significant number of people who are practicing in Nigeria today are not certified by the institute, right? Thank you, Bumi. They are not certified by the institute. So that means that in effect, really, you can just actually just start practicing. And here is how you can easily let people know that this is what you do, or this is your capability. The most important skill or criteria that you need to be a public relations professional is the ability to write excellently. If you can write and if you can speak, you already have the minimum requirements to be a public relations professional, okay? And as you go out of university and you begin to apply for jobs, for communication roles, for PR roles at entry level, the two most important skills that your interviewers will be asking for is evidence of ability to write and speak well, right? So that's how you start. And that's why during Adaura's presentation, she had mentioned that what you need in terms of skill is writing. You can't underestimate the importance of being able to write very well as a public relations professional. That means that in all your assignments that you get in school, in your term papers that you get in school, you should definitely not just be writing to pass the exams. You should be writing, assuming that you are submitting this to a third party outside your institutions. That means that you must be very conscious of your use of punctuations. You must be very conscious of the spellings that you use. You must be very conscious of your paragraphing, just the basic elements of writing, okay? In the virtual library that the Nigerian Women in PR is creating, we'll have many resources, books on writing, elements of writing, for example, where you would find information on how to write well and how to improve your writing. If you follow the community on our social media pages, once our virtual library is open to the public, we will share the link and you'll be able to access resources there. How do you get into PR as an entry-level person? Just apply for jobs. But before you get the jobs, you need to seek out internship opportunities. I think that that's an avenue that many undergraduates overlook when they have clarity as to what they want to do professionally. If you've decided that you want to pursue a career in public relations, you should immediately start looking for opportunities to intern as a public relations intern, as a communications intern. You can also volunteer, right? Again, another challenge that I have seen with interns and people who either want to start the profession is that there's a lot of focus on how much they are going to get. I mean, if you're going to join an organization without any experience at all, you should keep in mind that the organization is going to be investing in you by teaching you the things that you should know to become a professional. Okay, so don't have money at the forefront of your mind every time or anytime that you're trying to get internship opportunities or volunteer opportunities. Okay, seek out internship opportunities. On LinkedIn, I've written, I think I did an article a while back about how to be strategic when you are choosing volunteer work. Okay, you can't say that you want to be a public relations person, for example, and then you are going to volunteer what now? As a construction foreman. That's an extreme example. You go to volunteer in a construction site, for example, right? There's a mismatch in what your personal career objectives are with the places that you are volunteering. So you must be strategic. If there's an event happening, you should be the one saying that you want to volunteer in the communications team of that event. If there is a program happening, you want to volunteer in places that give you opportunity to learn about the career you want to grow in, right? So you must be very strategic in it. What does one benefit from public relations? I mean, number one, by the time you become an expert, of course, you'll be earning money, right? It's just like any other career. You get money from it. But beyond that, if you're passionate about public relations, what you will get is personal satisfaction. I mean, I look at some of the brands that I've worked with over the years. So in 2016, I joined a real estate organization as their first head of communications. And prior to my joining, at no point had they had any media exposure or interaction. They had not done any event at all. They had not done any PR-like activity that would help them generate goodwill amongst their prospective clients. 3 years after, when I was leaving, we had numerous interactions with the media. We had published several articles and press releases. We had organized a PR event where we invited students of many of the big schools in Lekki and Ikoyi. We invited the students to come to our office to come and experience how a 20-story building is built, from the process of conceptualization to the architects drawing it, to us going to sites to build it. That was an entire public relations experience. And of course, because we are very strategic also, we're also able to we're able to find the marketing element in that event, such that we got database that our marketing team were then able to follow up. And then we're also able to secure a complimentary speaking opportunity for our chief executive. That opportunity was worth $10,000 at an international real estate event. But because of our experience and we're able to talk all the grammar, we got our executive to speak at that event free of charge, where somebody else would have had to pay about $10,000. That's the work of public relations. If I had not joined that team as their communications person, they would have just continued to do things the way they've always done it, where salespeople will have to go and knock on people's doors to say, hello, this is what we are selling, will you buy? Do you understand? So there is a lot of value, and part of it is the personal satisfaction you see when you have been able to help a brand move from one point to the other. I mean, this year during COVID, my organization worked with an NGO in the creative space, and we helped them conceptualize a fund, a humanitarian assistance fund, right? Where they were going to give grants to creatives who had to stop working because of COVID. From 200,000 naira that we started with as a seed grant, by the end of that process, we were able to raise 10 million naira, right, for this humanitarian assistance fund. And not once did we go to the media, by the way. Okay, I'll ask either Tommy or Amara, if they're on this call, to please go to my Medium account and share the link to that article that I wrote on how public relations is not media relations. In that article, I shared several things that public relations professionals do in the background that never get to the media at all. There is no place in the media today that you will find that this NGO client that I mentioned was able to raise 10 million naira during COVID, just to give funds to creatives who were out of jobs. But that was a core PR, that was a core public relations strategy. And from that, we're able to get the attention of international organizations that never knew that this NGO existed before. We're able to get the founder on speaking platforms that she would not have been able to access if we didn't come up with this idea. Okay, so those are the things that you benefit as a person, and those are the benefits that you stand to give to organizations that you work with. How do you become a good PR professional? Keep writing, keep learning, always learn, always read. Oh my. Always learn, always read. Career diversification in public relations. I mean, we're going to share Kemi Olaoye's We're going to share Kemi Olawoye's slides with everybody who attended. My apologies for that. So give me a moment, please. My apologies, please, for that break. So career diversification, yes, we will share Kemi's slide. If you remember that page on the slide where she showed the different areas of public relations, all of them contain, there's crisis communications, there's government or regulatory government relations, there's community relations, there's corporate communications, there's stakeholder management, there's internal communications. Those are areas of specialization within public relations, and you can go ahead to find information about each of those areas of specialization. Tommy has shared the link to that Medium article I mentioned. You may want to just keep the link to read after this event. Amara will also share the link on the WhatsApp group that was created. Can anybody be a public relations professional? Not just anybody. That's what we are trying to discourage here, right? Because it is just today, because of democratic access to social media platform, what we have seen is that anybody can say that they're a public relations expert or consultant, so long as they have multiple followers. No, there is more to public relations than having many followers. There's more to public relations than putting people on TV and in the newspapers. That's why we have these conversations where we want to share, where we try to educate new talents about what strategic importance public relations hold, right? What are the things that make perfect public relations professionals? They've mentioned it. Should the public relations officer be concerned about money first or content? Definitely content, okay? Definitely content. Content, I mean, it's content that can get you money. If you are not able to provide or to put out quality content consistently, money is going to run away, right? How do you build network? For example, this event is a fantastic networking opportunity that I've necessarily not seen our participants using. I expect you to have introduced yourself and try to make connections in the chat section. That's what I do in this day of digital meetings and digital business. If you go for events, number one, be strategic in the events that you attend. And then when you do attend those events, look at the people in the participant box, click on it, look at the names, and then send a personal message or private message to those people introducing yourself. That's how you network. That's how you let people know that you are alive and that you exist out of the 7 billion plus people available in the world. What is public relations? I think Kemi dealt with that sufficiently. Oh, right. So, and that's what I just spoke about. If public relations is more than what social media influencers call it to be, yes, public relations is more than just trending hashtags. That's why you see sometimes the hashtags, trending hashtags on Twitter fail because there's no strategic thought to it. I mean, if you are conversant on Twitter, for example, you'll see that the recent attempt by Bolt, Taxify, the recent attempt by them to trend a hashtag and to drive conversation on Twitter failed gallantly because they did not take care of issues with their brand before they went out to the public. So if they had a proper PR consultant working with them, they would have known that the first thing they should do during a crisis period is not to try to talk to the public. You should first try to sort out internal issues first. That's the difference between a social media influencer and a public relations consultant. It is only when you are well-grounded as a public relations consultant that you are able to pick out the differences and the nuances in how to handle issues that affect organizations. Right? Is social media the backbone of public relations? Definitely not. I mean, there was public relations before social media came into being. However, social media platforms are they are mediums to pass out the information. They are mediums to pass out information about public relations activities. Okay, but if you understand how subsect and sect work in mathematics, you will know that the subsect of an item cannot be greater than the sect itself, right? If you have two circles and the smaller one is inside a big circle, you will know that that small circle inside the bigger one cannot be greater than the bigger circle. The bigger circle is the one that is all encompassing, right? So I mean, I just told you about a humanitarian assistance fund. Apart from us going on Instagram and LinkedIn to call for applications for creatives to apply for the funds, there was no information about us actually doing the work on social media, but the work was done and it was public relations. There are communities that organizations work in, right? And they need to do community relations so that these people in the community don't turn back on them and come and burn their factories. Everything that the organization does to make sure that their immediate community is at peace with them, those are public relations activities that is beyond social media. Right? Growing in public relations, we provide content every day about how you can grow as a public relations professional. So I will encourage you again to please join, follow our communities on social media to see the information that we put out there. Somebody is asking about job opportunities. We also share vacancies. We share internship opportunities on our Twitter page as well. Our social media pages simply at NG Women in PR. You'll find us there and you can follow us. Is there a bright future for public relations professionals? Definitely. I mean, the future is so bright, it's blinding. You know why? Every organization, every industry, every institution needs a public relations person. How else can you be successful when everybody needs you? Do you understand? You cannot if you write very well and you speak very well and you know how to use social media platforms and you know how to properly write applications, you cannot perpetually look for jobs, right? I mean, everybody from the tailor who decides to start using social media platforms to the conglomerate group that now has to reach the younger audience using social media, that now needs to reach out to communities, that need to interface with government. All of them need social media, including doctors. I mean, one of our clients at Mosron Communication is a healthcare consultancy group. Okay, it's healthcare. I'm not a doctor, but I consult and I advise doctors. I advise engineers on how to do communications, right? We're currently speaking with a tech CEO who is now looking to get international partners for their organizations. I'm not a tech person. I've never done a phone. I don't know whatever it is they do with phones, but I know communications and I know how to communicate with specific types of audiences, right? And it is that value that I have as a public relations professional that I can put in the front of a doctor, I can put in front of an accountant, I can put in front of an engineer to say, you desperately need me. In fact, you can put it in front of a lawyer. I mean, that's part of what we also do as well, okay? So there is a bright future. There are enormous opportunities in public relations as a profession. I dare say that you have more opportunities in public relations than you have in advertising or broadcast media, right? Because I mean, how many on-air professionals with a radio station hire? How many TV presenters with a TV hire? How many of those TV and radio stations do we have? Compare that number to how many organizations we have in Nigeria, how many SMEs we have in Nigeria, okay? And all of them will need a communications person, at least one, right? So the future is bright. the opportunities are enormous. If you are good, you are good. They will look for you. I mean, I'm sure that Kemi will be able to say it. And that's the other part as well. I just remember now, where people who did not even study either English or mass communications or any of those fields that may tend towards public relations, they come into the profession, they see how bright and how interesting and the opportunities available in the sector. They see it and they say, no, I'm not going back to medicine again. You heard Kemi tell you about her undergraduate degree in University of Lagos. I'm sure you remember that it didn't have anything to do with PR. And today she's doing public relations. That tells you that there's value there. How do you get great business deals? That's a separate business conversation that you need to have. On Thursdays on our Instagram page on Nigerian Women in PR, we have content for hashtag Thrive Through PR. That content every Thursday, we teach freelancers and PR agency owners how to get deals, how to ensure that you're able to deliver quality to your clients. So you may want to check that out as right. How to speak in public without fear. Start from here. Volunteer. Apply for the PR student ambassadorship program.
That's true.
Apply for the student ambassadorship program. Those are things that you will learn if you are chosen for it. Of course, volunteer as well. Many organizations are looking for volunteers
How are
who are
you?
more interested in
I
learning.
finished.
More
I just
interested in
remember.
learning than in the money that they may want to get. Of course, when you give value, you will get value in return. So I'm not saying that you should not try to earn, but make sure that learning is at the forefront of your mind when you try to approach people to get such opportunities, right? So I think that sort of covers the questions that we received before the summit. And at this point, I will then say that I think it has been an interesting conversation. I want to reiterate again, I want to say thank you to our speakers, Kemi Olawoye and Adaoran Jemanze. Thank you so much for honoring our call. Every month, at least, we have these sessions where we invite current PR practitioners to talk to undergraduate students like you. And we've been very fortunate that each time we call, everybody that we reach out to, they say, yes, I'm happy. I'm happy to do it. So I'm thankful to our ladies for joining us in this crusade to ensure that new talents are attracted into the industry and then, of course, educated about what the profession is actually like on the outside of it. I want to thank the representative of the HOD in absentia. Well, sorry, apparently the network has been very dicey today, so not very many people were able to join the call this afternoon, but the recording is there. Once the YouTube link is available, we'll share it, and then you can have your friends and colleagues watch it as well. I want to thank the representative of the HOD, the Student Union president, and I think the PRO and the secretary for the University of Ibadan, as well as the president of the Faculty of Arts, University of Ibadan, the president of Theater Arts Students, and I think Communication Arts. I can't remember the third one. Thank you all so much for the support that you've given to this. What we hope to happen is that this will begin a successful collaboration and partnership between the Nigerian Women in PR community and institutions and bodies of the University of Ibadan. If you need to have conversations about public relations or communication, I apologize again. I had to attend to my executive directors. So we expect that this will be the beginning of successful collaboration and partnerships between Nigerian Women in PR and institutions within the University of Ibadan, where we hope that there will be more opportunities for students and professionals practicing across various industries can come in to share their experience and of course give students an idea of what it looks like to be professionals in school. It's not, you can no longer rely on theory alone at the time you graduate to say that you are now ready to work. What events like this will do is to ensure that you are workplace ready, right? Because you have a clear idea of what organizations will expect you to begin to deliver. So we want to say thank you again. We want to thank especially the head of the department for communication arts or mass communications, I can't remember now, for their support for this event, and for everybody really who has joined. Thank you all so much for the time. If you have questions, comments, you can put it on the WhatsApp group that we created, and then we will attend to it from there. If you have not filled the feedback form for Adan Jimanze and Kemi Olawoye, please make sure to do that before you go. Feedback, as I said, is the cornerstone of communications. If you don't give us feedback, that means you've told us that we've just been talking and talking and talking. We want to hear what you have to say as well. Thank you so much. We look forward to the applications from prospective student ambassadors. Our lead supervisor for your team will be Olubumi Siolato, and the understudy supervisor will be Yetunde Olufemi. They are on call and they are waiting to review your applications, and immediately we are able to make a selection. We will do a proper induction ceremony for our 5 outstanding student ambassadors for the University of Ibadan. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. This is where we'll end the conversation. I'm going to give us 5 minutes amongst yourselves. Please network in the chat box, drop your comments, questions, or experience of the Nigerian Women in PR Summit, Public Relations Students on Campus Summit. Okay, thank you all so much. Please network, make a comment, make a friend in the chat box, and at 5:05, we will then end this meeting officially. Thank you for staying with us.
Someone can use Radisson.